1 year on, we're talking to Mons 2015 again to see how their year went. We've got the head of international relations here on Skype, and we're going to ask her a few questions about what has happened, what's going on now, and what they expect for the future. So, Caroline, hello.
Hello.
So tell us, 1 year on, what has changed? This time last year we were at the opening ceremony. Now the year is finished. What can you tell us?
Many things have been changing since these last few years, because it's not only the year that Mons bear the title of European Capital of Culture, but it's the whole process that contributed to this metamorphosis, because we like talking about a metamorphosis, because the cities changed completely, not only from an urban perspective, because we have so many buildings, so many places dedicated to culture that opened this year, but also the way people see culture and live culture now in the city. And this has also a real change in terms of collaboration between the different institutions in the city. The way the Foundation Mons 2015 worked with the museums that belonged to the city, the tourism office. This is really a real collaboration that has proved to work very well, and we will of course capitalize on this. And as I told you before, we like to mention that this project was a metamorphosis from an urban perspective, but also from a metamorphosis of the spirit, because it changed the way people see and live the culture in the city and the whole region. For instance, we have done many things in the urban landscape which we were not used to before this project, and people are getting used to it. People who didn't dare to push the door of the traditional theater, of the modern art museum, went in the city, and they could enjoy urban installations, artistic performances. This is really what has changed this year, and of course we are very keen to capitalize on all this.
And what were the most successful events? What do you think worked best?
Wow, it's very difficult to say, but we had some highlights, of course, and Van Gogh, the Van Gogh exhibition was one of them, certainly one of them, because we strategically decided to have Van Gogh at the very beginning of the year to make sure that people who would come to Mons without knowing they were coming to Mons, but to come to see the Van Gogh exhibition, would like to come back once they have enjoyed the atmosphere of the city, the heritage buildings, and all the other things that make the city of Mons. And we wanted them to come back, and it proved to work. Then Van Gogh was certainly, the exhibition was certainly one of the highlights of this year, but also all the urban installation, all the participative events that took place in spring. This is in what we call the Play the City Festival. This we organize all kinds of artistic performances for which the participation of the citizens was required, and it worked very, very well, because we really wanted for the citizens to be involved, deeply involved in the project, and it worked quite well as well. These were some of the highlights, but also we have other major exhibitions. For example, the Verlaine exhibition, this French poet, symbolic French poet. And then we have an exhibition dedicated to St. George and the Dragon. We had the major labyrinth of sunflowers on the Grand Place in tribute to Van Gogh, of course. This worked very well as well. These are some of the highlights, but it's very difficult to make a choice. It's very subjective, because we had more than 300 major activities and more than 1,000 cultural activities in total.
Excellent. And was there anything that didn't work quite so well? Something that didn't live up to expectations?
Actually, I wouldn't say that there was something that didn't work. We had a major setback. I'm sure you heard of it. It was just before the opening with the wood installation from Anne Queens. You know, we had to dismantle it 2 weeks before the opening ceremony because it was just bad luck. There was a wooden piece that was rotten from the inside, and then part of the installation collapsed. And then we couldn't take any risk before the opening, and then we had to dismantle it. And then we negotiated with the artist to reconstruct it, because it really changed the way, this installation really changed the way people saw the city, and also the circulation in this part of the city. And the shopkeepers, the citizens wanted it back. And then we reconstructed it in October 2015, and it's now there for 5 years. And this was one of the major setback in terms of Mons 2015 programations. Of course, we had some disappointments, for instance, as far as the station is concerned, but it had nothing to do with the artistic project. But this is something we had to play around with, because this station by Santiago Calatrava is huge project, and we really wanted it ready for 2015, but it was years and years ago, and then we knew very fast that it was not going to be ready. But what was very important is that the traffic was still, the train traffic was still there, and then people could still arrive by train in Mons, and that was the case. And then we had to work around it, because it was reconstruction work everywhere in this part of the city. This was kind of a setback as well, but nothing to do with the artistic project.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
that's it, basically.
Did you have a closing ceremony? And if so, what did you do?
The closing ceremony, yes, we organized a closing ceremony on the 12th of December, and it was more on a local scale than the opening ceremony. It was really a moment we wanted to dedicate to all the partners, all the citizens that participated to this ambitious project. And we organized 6 different balls, dancing balls in the city with different atmospheres, and we also required the participation of the inhabitants for this closing ceremony, and it happened to be very successful as well. We didn't get the amount of people that we got for the opening ceremony, because it was not the point of it, but more than 20,000 people showed up, and there was no incident. It was a very convenient atmosphere. People were, on the one hand, very happy, they were celebrating, and on the other hand, they were celebrating also the end of something, but also the rebirth of the new dynamic in the city, and it was very, very moving.
Excellent. And what happens now? So obviously the baton is passed on to the Capitals of Culture 2016. How does that work exactly?
Well, as I told you before, it's the end of a wonderful, ambitious project, but it's also the new start of a new dynamic in the city, because we are discussing right now the continuation of the foundation Mons 2015 in order to capitalize on what proved to work very well in the region. For instance, all the citizens involved in the territory project are asking for more projects. They are already asking us, what do we do next? We still want culture. We still want to be part of these kinds of projects. And this is, we are thinking about this right now, how we can capitalize on all this and move forward. Of course, we need to be more creative in terms of budget, because there is one thing for sure, is that we're not going to have the same budget. Of course, it was a budget dedicated to 1 year, to a year of European Capital of Culture, but now we have to think on the way to work together with the different institutions in the city to have a transversal communication between the cultural institution, the tourism office, because it will prove to work very well last year, and we are working on this right now. And it's certainly not the end. It's when we talk about a metamorphosis, we have a start for a metamorphosis, but there is no end, and we are still in the middle of this metamorphosis. Then hopefully we will be able to keep on going, and we don't have to wait too long, of course.
Excellent. And your role in particular was head of international relations.
Yes,
How do you think this year has contributed, and what did you do to maximize the international collaboration?
Actually, one of the main objectives of this project was to put back the city and the whole region on the European map. And my role was to collaborate with many partners around Europe, in Europe and around the globe, of course. The objective of it was to collaborate with artistic partners, institutional partners outside the city, but outside Belgium as well, and to put the city back on the European map. And this we've done a lot with the tourism board for Belgium, and also for the representation of the Wals part from Belgium in outside Belgium, what we call Fédération Wallonie-Brussels, and we worked a lot with them to be present and to have visibility outside the country.
Great. And final question, what advice would you give to Matera, which is currently still preparing? Is it too early? What should we be focusing on? And what is your piece of advice, your most important piece of advice for a city that's still got a couple of years to come?
I would strongly advise them to engage with the citizens very soon. Even if the program is not ready, they don't have to communicate about the program, because it's very dangerous, because till the very end you have many things that are moving in your project, and once you've announced it, it's too late, you can't go back. But it doesn't prevent you to engage with the people. It's very important for them to feel part of this wonderful project and this ambitious adventure, really to engage with them. And also I would recommend them to enjoy the most of it, because it's really a really wonderful experience. It really changed your city. It changed the way you work together. It's a project that creates link, and they should enjoy the most of it, really, because time flies so quickly.
That's great. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for your valuable contribution.
Thank you to you.
Okay.